It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. Actually, you know what? I think yesterday, everything that happened with the splashdown, the return home, the astronauts, the dolphins, everything, it was the best of humanity and it was the worst of humanity. Really. That was one of the most incredible things I've ever seen. There's a lot of news events you want to tune in for and you watch and kind of like, ugh. And everybody uses the way back in the day. And you people who are my age will remember. Remember when Geraldo and the big news event tried to open Al Capone's cave and nothing happened? There's a lot of hyped up news events that happen like that people watch live. And now with live streams, you can see it on your phone at work or, have it on the audio in your car, whatever it is. But that thing yesterday with the astronauts returning home, that was one of the few highly anticipated news events that surpassed all expectations. It was picture perfect landing, obviously. We'll get into that, what it all means. Elon confirming exactly how we got to this point. Not only that, but the amazing video we could all watch because of the drones that SpaceX puts around this whole thing. So we got a great close-up view of this thing, as long as it was. And we even got a dolphin show. Dolphins showed up, circling around. You can't beat that. You can't beat that you couldn't write a script like that could be any better. It was amazing, but that didn't stop the Lunatics, and I mean this seriously. I've been joking about this, about the people who hate the fact that we called them stranded astronauts. Hate the fact. I was joking about this before. I'm not joking anymore. They are seething. Seething with hatred, the fact that these people were rescued. I mean that honestly. There is a distinct difference between the toxic lunatics that are out there, and I mean that right now. And I'm not even talking about political parties anymore. Forget about that. Those days are gone. Forget it. There's no more political parties. Forget it. There's the toxic, dangerous now lunatics, and they have now crossed that threshold, and the normal people and the rest of us, which is most of us. But how do we deal with them? That's what this is all about. We'll talk about that as well. And there's also, we're going to wrap this up with some lighter stuff that truly disturbs me. Maybe it's because things have been so heavy in the news lately. Did you guys know baseball was back? It's like the Major League Baseball season is underway. Granted, overseas, I get that, so it was a little bit different. Excuse me, and the time zones were a little bit different. I'm a pretty big sports fan. 80% of the time you see me wearing a Red Sox hat. The pub where I do, my upstairs pub where I do this live stream every single day and the podcast, record stuff, is covered with sports things. If I didn't know that baseball was back and underway, what about the casual fan? Baseball has some major marketing problems. Anyway, we'll get into all that. Nuts and bolts to take care of some business. Thanks for finding Wicked Radio on the live stream. This will live as a replay later on, as it always does here on X and on Facebook, on YouTube, and all that good stuff. And the audio podcast, wherever you like to get them, just look for Wicked Radio with Bill Adams, and you'll find it right there. And thank you for the downloads. Appreciate it. That's grown leaps and bounds. People still love audio. It's good to hear. I love that. All right, let's get to it. I mean it. I don't think it's overhyped. For an anticipated news event, this thing surpassed all expectations. You want to talk about a picture-perfect homecoming. I know it's corny. I get it. I get a little emotional about these kinds of things. Being a fan of humanity and a patriotic American, I got goosebumps watching this. And I still get goosebumps right now, even listening to this. Here's the official call on Splashdown.
And Splashdown. Crew 9, back on Earth.
We see main chutes cut. Nick, Alex, Butch, Sunny, on behalf of SpaceX, welcome home.
That was just awesome. Yeah, don't forget about the other two, by the way. They get no credit. A Russian guy and then the other guy from the NASA astronaut who were coming home too. There's 4 of them. Let's not forget about that. It wasn't just Sunny and Butch, but fantastic overall. Just amazing picture, a feat of engineering. It's a feat of humanity to bring them home safely, and I thought it was absolutely incredible. Now, if that wasn't enough, so we're all watching this thing, and maybe you just saw the video later and you heard about it, whatever, or you're listening to it, and I'm watching this thing, and we have it on the screen, the big one downstairs, and I'm watching, and I'm going, oh, God. My first thought was, when I saw the fins going by, I thought it was a shark. Now, they don't open the hatch in the water, so there was no danger there, but I'm like, oh, my God. They look like shark fins. And then they zoomed in again, and they get circle around, and they jumped out of the water. I'm like, hey, they're dolphins. This is so cool. And I said to everybody in the house, hey, check this out. They're dolphins. And sure enough, Now, the SpaceX call was pretty cool. I believe this is an Australian call of the thing. They were like blown away by they couldn't get over the fact that there were dolphins in the water.
Self out of the water there. Those.
There we go.
Oh my gosh, they are dolphins. Look at that.
The universe works in amazing ways. It really does. It's like if this thing wasn't cool enough to get this feat of humanity and engineering done, on top of everything else, we get a dolphin show. You know, even they were celebrating. I thought that was so cool. And then they're home safe and sound, and they get on the vehicle. Boy, and you got to see, because of the drone coverage on this, up close and personal, how these things work. And they grab the capsule, the fast boats come up, and there's some guy. Did you happen to catch the guy that comes off one of the fast boats? Just one guy who jumps up, and he climbs up, and he's the one that hooks the rig on top of the capsule that comes down. And he rides it the whole way until they get to the recovery vehicle, the big boat, where they pull the thing on and they take him off board. Once that's on there, this guy jumps into the water. And then you didn't see him. Amazing. How'd you like to have his job? Looks like he was having a blast anyway. But anyway, they're safe and sound, so it begs the question. Can we put to bed the whole argument? And I was joking about this for days leading up to this when it was announced that they're coming home. I was joking about this and making fun of all the people that I'm sure you have them in your personal life too. And I know I do, and you see them online all over the place. They've reached a different level. These are the folks who said, they're not, this is what they were before yesterday. They're not stranded. Don't say they're stranded. That's not true. Not stranded. No. They don't want to believe it. They absolutely don't want to believe it. Those folks, now that they're home, and I mean this seriously, all jokes and yucks aside, those folks have now gone from, they're not stranded. That's just not true. Those same people are seething mad. There's not happy with the way things are going in your life or politics or news or society, whatever, or at work. And then there's seething crazy mad. And that's our theme of what we're talking about today. Because those same folks I was joking about lightheartedly before for a few days and a few shows, they've gone over the deep end. We've seen the full spectrum of what's been happening here. There was shock after the November election. And like I said, I think this goes even beyond politics. It's something else. It's not political parties. That's over. It's the mentally ill, and I truly mean that, reaching a dangerous level, and everybody else. And the question remains, how do you deal with them? There are people now, this was the final thing. I mean it. You've seen it. We've witnessed it. This was the final straw that pushed them over the edge. It broke the camel's back. This was the one. They cannot stand the fact that anybody connected to Trump, that SpaceX even was able to do this. I didn't want to say this before. I held off yesterday on the live stream by saying it. I was this close. To saying it, but I didn't want to put it out into the universe. Now that the astronauts are home safe, we can say it now. I am telling you, as we sit here today, that there are a lot of the crazy, toxic lunatics who are hoping for some sort of a disaster with this return home. I guarantee you know that, and I know that, and now we can say it now that it's safe. You know that. So that leads us to this. Let's confirm, put it to bed once and for all, that this was politically motivated while they were stranded so long. Elon was on Hannity, and he confirmed it again. And good for Hannity for asking the question, to put it to bed. Let's finalize this, right? And he asked him, he said, we've heard it again, time and time again this week, where they're denying the fact that the Biden administration rejected the offer to bring them home months ago. We're talking months ago, like 6 months ago. They could have been home. Here's Elon.
No, we definitely offered to return the astronauts earlier. There's no question about that. The astronauts were only supposed to be there for 8 days, and they've been there for almost 10 months. So obviously that doesn't make any sense. SpaceX could have brought the astronauts back after a few months at most, and we made that offer to the Biden administration. It was rejected for political reasons, and that's just a fact.
Okay, now the folks I was making fun of before saying, no, they weren't stranded, not true, Okay, you don't need to argue with those people anymore. The debate is settled. That is fact. We know that they could have come home just like this months ago. We know this now. You don't have to deal with them. And in fact, I'll go so far as to say those folks who have now been pushed over the edge, who are seething mad, the toxic lunatics, and that's what I will continue to call them from here on out, the absolute toxic lunatics who are so twisted by misinformation or mental illness, whatever it is. You don't have to deal with them anymore. You don't have to make this argument. Whatever it is, these astronauts are home. But going forward, what do you do and how do you handle them? I'm telling you, we've reached a point now, and just overall in society, we've all seen, and this happened yesterday. You talk about two worlds, right? On the very same day where most people are celebrating this and looking at this going, well, that was awesome. There was a perfect splashdown. The little dolphin thing was cute. That was great. The very same day, it was not 4 hours before this happened, this feat of engineering and humanity, that a Tesla dealership was firebombed in Las Vegas. You've got two worlds going on here. You have two things happening, right? And it's all coming from very, very bad people who are using very, very twisted people to get their dirty work in. And all of it's by design. We've reached a point now today, the turning point, where you got to be careful, because I'm telling you right now, for all of us normal folks, and if you're a Tesla driver, I'm not, I don't have a Tesla, but if somebody were to key your car and all those incidents of people keying them, right? The toxic lunatics and the people funding them and organizing them would love nothing more than even one incident where you got pissed off at somebody doing this to your property. Righteously. I mean, you would be in the right. But don't take it to start. To beat the absolute living shit out of one of these toxic lunatics, they would love to promote that. That would be front page news all over the world, because they would try to spin this in, you're the bad guy. That's what they would do, which is why, and I mean this seriously. I like to joke, and all yucks aside, I mean this. I'm dead serious about this. Do not fall into the trap of responding that way. You can't. You would be right to do it. There's two concepts here. You'd be right. You'd be righteous. But you can't do it because you're going to fall into a trap, because you know how this would be spun, right? And going back to Elon again, I'm sorry to refer back to the same interview. It's interesting where he says this, how it's multi-level. And he did actually, again, Hannity doesn't always do the best interviews, but he asked the right questions. He was asking where all this is coming from, right? So back to Elon a second, where all this left-wing violence is coming from. Comes from the top, and they're using the toxic lunatics to enact the violence. That's where all this is coming from. I'm going to go back to the same interview because it describes exactly what's happening here. Here's Elon.
Yeah, it turns out when you take away people's, the money they're receiving fraudulently, they get very upset, and they basically want to kill me because I'm stopping their fraud, and they want to hurt Tesla because we're stopping this terrible waste and corruption in the government. And well, I guess they're bad people. Bad people will do bad things.
Yeah, I don't know if you got the same takeaway. I don't know if you saw this, but even listening to it here, he's usually like really kind of jovial on this kind of stuff, and he actually said, I've never seen anything like it. When he said that, I think he's been shaken by this a little bit, to be honest with you. I mean, that guy's been in front of cameras and microphones for like 20 years now. I've seen a lot of Elon interviews over the years. I think he actually has been kind of shaken by this, because he understands more than any of us where it's actually coming from, and that's how twisted and toxic this actually is. So here's where we are right now. It's coming from the top, and they're using, organized and funded, toxic lunatics to enact this kind of violence, like torching the Tesla dealership in Vegas, or even the small stuff, like, keying cars and all these other things. And I'll say it again because I think it's that important. Don't fall into the trap of catching one of them and beating the shit out of them. Don't do it, because they would love that. They would absolutely love to entrap normal people in that kind of thing. Even though, and I'm not saying you wouldn't be righteous, you would be, but you can't do it because it's only going to get you in trouble, okay? So that's where we are there. You can't respond to them because we've reached a point. This is the turning point where the toxic loons have gone over the edge. Let them spin out. Let them what it is. That's how you deal with that. And here's the amazing thing. Talk about hurting Tesla. They've got, this is kind of a side story. I don't want to stick with politics too much, but have you seen these approval polls for the Democratic Party within Democrats? This was amazing. Even CNN, this is where CNN made some news this week. This was their own poll. They've got a 29% approval rating among Democrats for the Democrat Party. 29%. So who do they send out there to try to save things? Tim Walz. Tough guy Tim Walz is back again. This is the face of where you want to go with that? Like, that's what they're doing? I mean, the Republican team over there, they've got some idiots too, but this guy is just something else. But not only, he's everywhere these days. Did a lot of media. He did a public event yesterday where he was talking about, he whipped out his phone, and he gave the Tesla stock update. Talk about, it's designed to hurt Tesla, obviously. But then he goes on, boy, remember we were talking about this Gavin Newsom podcast? Boy, is this giving us some gems. It's fantastic. Not the podcast, what some people and some guests are saying on it, because it's great and it's revealing. Like tough guy Tim Walz. I don't know what world this guy's living in, and I don't understand why the Democrat team is putting him out forefront, but listen to this.
How do you fight it?
This
I
notion
think
of
I could
tax.
kick most of their ass. I do think that if they wanted to. I know I can outrun them, but I don't.
What? Him? Like that? That's the messaging that they're putting out there? But again, very subtly, right? Very subtly. They always put it out there as if, in a joking kind of way, but it's by design. I think I could kick most of their ass. Yeah, okay, Tim, sure you could. But the toxic lunatics we're talking about today, hear that? And they're like, yeah, I think I could too. And somehow it's justified. Remember back in the day, Trump administration won, you had Maxine Waters and even Michelle Obama saying that when they go low, we go lower. And Maxine Waters saying, we got to get in their faces. That results in this kind of stuff, and it activates the crazies. We can't get trapped into that kind of stuff. Normal people. I'm not even talking about parties. Forget Democrats, forget Republicans, forget right or left, forget blue and red. Forget it. You've got insane people, and you've got normal people. You can't let them drag you down. You just can't do it. So that's my takeaway. Just be careful. But think about that whenever you hear that kind of stuff. They weren't stranded. And then you think about that splashdown with the celebration of returning astronauts home. And even the dolphins celebrating around him was fantastic. All right, lighter news. I got to get out of that stuff. Did you know baseball was back? You might have. You're probably smarter than me. But I will tell you this. I'm a pretty big sports fan. 80% of the time on this thing, you see me wearing a Red Sox hat, and I am covered by sports memorabilia here. If I didn't know baseball was back, what about the average fan? It's back. Granted, in Tokyo, but it's back.
Strike. Bill Miller has the plate, and we are off and running with the 2025 Major League Baseball season.
Tokyo Dome, Cubs, Dodgers out there, and Major League Baseball is calling this a great, international marketing idea to start the two games over there because, you got Shohei Ohtani and two big classic names and two sold-out games. And okay, I get that. But I think Major League Baseball is a major marketing problem on its hands. If I forgot, I remember hearing they were going to do this a few months ago, but if I wasn't aware that officially the Major League Baseball season is back, how is the average fan who doesn't really follow that or have a favorite team going to know? Great. Market internationally, that's fine. I'm sure it was a big deal and it was good for ratings overseas. How about in your home market? Major League Baseball has to figure this out. Can you imagine the NFL starting the season and hardly anybody knew? That would never happen. Ever. They're too good at marketing. Anyway, figure it out, baseball. All right, the takeaway, the funny, comical, left-wing lunatics, and also I'll throw this in there too, right-wing lunatics, just crazy, toxic lunatics, have reached a level that's actually pretty dangerous, and you got to know how to handle them. You don't take it head on. Don't ever take any crap from anybody. I tell you that every single day. But you don't want to engage. You truly don't, because they've reached a point where they would love to drag you down, and you know how that would be spun in the news. Don't get trapped into that. Don't take any crap from anybody. Just don't. Let's do it the right way. Thanks for finding the podcast. The live stream, too. And the audio podcast posted usually about 9 a.m. Eastern time every single day, wherever you like to get those. Just look for Wicked Radio with Bill Adams. And this will be the live stream replay on X and YouTube and Facebook as well, with all that said. Whew. And we're only midweek. But go look at the splashdown again, because that was awesome. It'll make you feel good about humanity. Have a wicked awesome Wednesday. With all that said, we'll talk to you tomorrow.